Good morning, and thank you for being here today with the holidays already in full swing. We are so excited to bring you some wonderful ideas about how to create some healthy additions to your menus this season. As a reminder, this webinar will be recorded and sent to all of you who have signed up to attend, even if you're not able to join us. We will also post today's information on our Wellness Webinars webpage, and that link is displayed on the PowerPoint on your screen right now. I'm pleased to introduce Katie Godin, our presenter. She is with Lifestyle Medical. Katie's a registered dietitian with over 15 years of experience, and she focuses on helping individuals improve their knowledge and relationship with food, along with lots of other great talents. Those of you who have attended some of these webinars this year have to agree that she has certainly helped all of us improve our knowledge in so many ways. The state health plan does have in-network dietitians all across the state. So if you're interested in finding one, there are many listed through the link for the state health plan, which is also displayed on your screen right now. Lifestyle Medical is one of those in network, so it's completely free to use them. And you can use them either in person or virtually. So if you have a specific area that you would like to focus on based on your own personal health situations, I do encourage you to utilize that great benefit. I'm Carol Battle, and I manage our worksite wellness program for the state. At this point, let's welcome Katie and get rolling with some new creative ways to incorporate healthier dishes this holiday. Katie?
Thank you, Carol. It's just really surreal to think that, we've been doing these for a solid year now. And it's also very surreal to think that we're here at the holidays already. I feel like the year has flown by, but I think once December 1st hits, or really once Thanksgiving hits, it's just, whoosh, it just goes so fast. So I hope everyone is in the spirit and having a wonderful start to the month so far. Last time we talked about some tips and tricks for holiday parties. And so this particular presentation, I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I wanted it to be holiday focused, of course, but I think we already kind of discussed. And for those of you that weren't able to make last month's presentation, you should definitely check it out. There's a lot of good information there. But this time I thought it would be kind of fun to just go through some really fun, healthy additions to your plate this season, and maybe some swaps or additions to some of your favorite recipes, or maybe some things that you've never thought about trying before. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. And as Carol mentioned, I've been with Lifestyle for about 5 years now, but I've been a dietitian for over 15. I love doing outpatient. I love talking to people, connecting with people. I specifically love talking to people about behaviors around eating, which I think is such an important thing to focus on, especially this time of year. We can get really wrapped up in, the put it off to the new year motto, which, I think if we can just kind of look at the holidays as just, it isn't normal, but it also should be viewed that, food and things like that should just be viewed as just food, regular food, not something special, not that we need to just do anything vastly different than we normally do with food. And I think that's definitely a hard concept. So I love talking to people about that this time of year. But we, of course, have other services that we support for people. And like Carol mentioned, we are still doing virtual sessions, which I think is so fantastic, and just to allow for that flexibility for people. But we also have that in-office option as well, where you can come in and have that one-on-one kind of more personal connection if you desire it. So, all right, well, let's get into it. So, okay, let's talk about cranberry sauce for a second. I think that this is one of those things where we might not ever think about making this homemade. We kind of just, I know that I grew up with canned cranberry sauce until a certain age, and my grandfather reminded me that over Thanksgiving, because we have homemade at this point, but my grandmother at a certain point started to request that he make it homemade. He's a really good cook. And so he, of course, wanted to please her. So started doing that. And I mean, it is amazing how much different the flavor and the taste of it is. And it's really not that difficult. So throughout all of these slides, there will be recipes linked. So I've tried to provide at least 1 to 2 recipes, new recipes for you guys each slide, so that you have a lot to kind of browse through after today and kind of look back and see what you might want to try this season. But yes, I think when we think about cranberry sauce, I mean, replacement for gravy could be an option, but I know that there are people out there that are gravy people and we have to have our gravy. So obviously it can be a complement to your meal as well. Nutrient dense with vitamin C, loaded with fiber, lots of good things coming from cranberry sauce. But I just think that if you've never attempted to make homemade cranberry sauce, this would be something really fun to try if you've, got that kind of desire in you too, and if you like cranberry sauce. So I wanted to throw that one out there. Okay. So roasted vegetables. This is something you, of course, can do all year round. You do not have to just do it for the holidays. I'm obsessed with roasting all vegetables. You can really be extremely creative with it. I have linked a recipe here, but you can have lots of different variety to what you choose. Common ones, I'm doing some cauliflower today, but Brussels sprouts are always so nice roasted. If you are not a Brussels sprout fan and have not tried them roasted, I highly recommend it. What roasting does is it just naturally brings out the sweetness of the vegetable. It also kind of gives it that really nice texture, a little bit of crispness, but kind of a soft texture, especially if you're doing things like sweet potatoes or carrots. I think that's a really good option to do. And, I think we can just sit back and, remember that, that holiday dishes can just be loaded with breading and sauces. And I mean, that's okay. I think sometimes we need to incorporate those dishes that we associate kind of that familiarity of the holidays with, and, kind of just that traditional, very comforting. And I think there's nothing wrong with tapping into that over the holidays. But I also think it's fun to just explore and try new things. I personally am someone that when I'm bringing something to one of my family functions, I like to try something new every year. And I might, bring a traditional classic with it, but I like to bring something new to the table too, because I just think that that's fun. And I don't think we have to really omit all of the things that we love and enjoy, but think of a lot of these ideas as things to just kind of add to. Okay. Let's see what the next one is. Oh, green bean almondine. So I grew up with this, but I also love green bean casserole. And so I've given 2 different options here when it comes to doing these this green bean recipe. So green bean almondine is basically just roasting, or excuse me, not roasting, roasting's on my brain, sauteing these vegetables in a little bit of olive oil, and then putting some chopped or sliced slivered almonds on top, just adding kind of a nice little crunch, a little special feature to kind of more of a traditional green bean dish that's not that casserole that maybe you're used to having. However, if you are a green bean casserole lover, the slow cooker green bean casserole from Eating Well, which I've linked here, is absolutely phenomenal. And you guys know that I promote and do eating well. I don't work with them, despite maybe what you might think. I do a lot of eating well recipes. I do them because they're good and they're relatively easy. And I love the nutrition facts and the discussion about all of the different nutrients that they add to their recipes and to their, just their overall blog is really great too. So I highly recommend checking it out. But yes, that slow cooker green bean casserole is phenomenal. But if you want something just really simple and different, and you've never tried green bean almondine, then you should give it a go. Okay. So mashed cauliflower and potatoes. So one thing that we do in my with my family gathering, mostly for Thanksgiving, but sometimes for Christmas too, is we mix rutabaga with mashed potatoes. So I don't know if anyone else does that. Rutabagas can be a bit harsh, I think, on their own, but they're very low carbohydrate, where you've got your mashed potatoes, which can be a little bit more heavier of an option, which is okay. I mean, I'm not dissing any dish here, but I think the idea is to just try to think of some healthy swaps and ways of kind of mixing things up. So today's dish that I'm making, which maybe you guys have already seen featured when you signed up for the presentation, but I'm doing a cauliflower mac and cheese. So I don't know if you've tried that before, but cauliflower is a great swap for mashed potatoes, or potatoes in general, for carbohydrates like pasta as well. For instance, the macaroni. So it's pretty versatile in that way. I like cauliflower also for those who might need lower carb for better blood sugar control. They have a lower glycemic index, which means your blood sugars do not spike as high with it. So the lower the number on the glycemic index equals kind of the better that food is going to be for your blood sugars overall. So blending just a mashed cauliflower with your mashed potatoes, kind of a half and half mixture. There's a recipe here for you to kind of look at that, but it's pretty basic. Really just kind of boiling or steaming that cauliflower, and then to get it nice and soft so that it's easy to mash and blend in with the potatoes is basically all you have to do. And it just kind of adds a filler. It still has that creamy, lovely texture that mashed potatoes have, but it saves a little bit of calories, and it saves definitely a lot of carbohydrates going into the dish. Okay. This sweet potato casserole, spoiler alert, will be featured next year at some point. So I'm not making it today, but I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I love varying up the topping of a sweet potato casserole to add a little bit more nutrient density to the dish. And as you can see there, this particular one has some pepitas or pumpkin seeds. It's got a little bit of dried cranberries on there, some walnuts, or pecans. It might be pecans, not walnuts actually, but beautiful. I think it just adds such a nice nutrient dense swap to our traditional marshmallows and brown sugar. So I think, again, traditional dishes are fun, and sometimes our children especially get really excited over things and want things to be the way that they always are with these meals. But I think it's kind of fun to get even children excited about changes when it comes to food, trying new things, helping you in the kitchen. If you've got young kids, they're a little bit more likely to explore new options if they're in the kitchen cooking than making some of this stuff with you. So a side note there, I highly encourage you to get your children and have them help you this holiday season. If you've got parties to go to and dips to make, or side items, appetizers, all the things, main dishes, whatever it is that you're responsible for making, get them involved. But this sweet potato casserole just has all the really good flavors and natural sweetness, of course, from the sweet potatoes and all the delicious spices that really kind of make it bold and round that dish out. But just kind of switching up that topping can maybe go a long way when it comes to the nutrients involved. So we're going to get into a few different appetizer options here, because I know this is a really popular time for us to go to holiday parties or just, have people over. I think it's just one of my favorite things about this season, especially this year. I feel like, and I might have mentioned this last time, but I feel like this year we are really starting to feel more comfortable getting out and about and seeing people, knowing that, there's still slight risks involved, but at the same time, we're just kind of getting to a point where we're kind of settling and feeling a little bit more comfortable. We're going to parties again. We're in the office again. We're having potlucks. We're, able to even share food. Oh my goodness, it just is so wonderful. I think it's just making this year so much fun for a lot of people kind of sitting back and thinking about that. So I wanted to feature spinach dip is very popular, okay? So want to talk about the option up top, the reduced guilt spinach and kale Greek yogurt dip. This is my absolute favorite from Trader Joe's. I don't know if you guys have tried it, but if you haven't and you have a Trader Joe's near you, you need to try it. It's wonderful. It's made with Greek yogurt. It's got obviously spinach and kale, so a double whammy there. It's just wonderful flavors. Just it tastes very, in my opinion, very similar to a traditional spinach dip, but just without all the unnecessary calories coming from those rich, mayo and sour cream and things like that. That if they're not lightened up can just pack in a lot of hidden unnecessary calories. And then I've also provided a recipe here, again, from Eating Well. That's a slow cooker spinach artichoke dip that would be more of a hot option. And so, and I think just remembering that when you're doing dips, okay, so I think we can vary what we're using, to scoop up that dip, right? So I think remembering, so you can see there on that plate or on the appetizer below, red peppers, cucumbers are great options. You can do obviously some toasted baguettes that are there are wonderful choices as well, just to add a little bit of that that kind of more decadent flavor. But I think just having vegetables alongside your dip could be something that you are a little bit more intentional about this season. So, okay. The veggie tray. I know that this isn't something that we typically want to work on and bring to a party. We want to bring something more fun, but I think that this is absolutely beautiful. I'm hosting something next week and I'm 100% making this. I just think it's pretty. And so I think we can have a little fun with veggie trays and charcuterie boards and things of that nature, where we can have some fun things involved on the platter, and then we can also have some things that kind of are providing a little bit more of that balance to the meal too. And as I mentioned last time, when we're thinking about holiday parties, holiday gatherings, a lot of times if we are unsure of what is going to be at the party, and maybe we're trying to be a little bit more intentional this season with our choices and how we go about these parties, bringing some of these healthy options yourself allows for you to know and feel very sure that there's going to be something there that is green or has, some nutrient density to it, as well as that flavor satisfaction factor. But yes, so, and the dip that you use for the middle can certainly be varied up there. You could put your spinach dip there. You could make a Greek yogurt ranch dip, which is very basic and simple. You could do, a guacamole dip if you wanted to add some of those healthy fats in the mix. So yeah, a veggie tray can be very simple, but also very festive. So. Oh, the charcuterie board. I just think they're so fun. I think they're pretty. I think they're easy. Yes, there's a recipe here, but there's certainly not one necessary. It is not necessary to have one. I think inspiration is helpful. I know that even for myself, when I can probably sit here and think of things to put on the charcuterie board, sometimes if I just see the picture of it, it really helps me to kind of have some of that artistic and, you know, that creativity that goes behind it. And for me personally, that's what I think is so fun about stuff like this. And then you can also, again, you know, have so much variety that you add to these things. You can have, you know, healthy fats in the form of nuts and olives and maybe some, you know, pumpkin seeds or something like that. And then you've got obviously your fruits and then your meats and your cheeses. You can have special honeys or special little jams. And at Christmas time, you can really make them pretty and put kind of festive things on there to jazz them up. So yeah, if you've got a party coming up, or even just as an appetizer to have when you are awaiting that Christmas meal, sometimes snacking on something that has a little bit of extra protein and some healthy fats before heading into the big meal might help kind of settle your stomach and your cravings a little bit to make a bit more intentional choices when you know, get to the table. So, okay. The lightened up pumpkin pie. So I have to admit, I'm not a pumpkin pie person. I never have been, and I just don't think I ever will be, but I know that it's a fan favorite for a lot of people this time of year. This particular pumpkin pie has been lightened up, has less than 200 calories for a slice. You know, I think that's pretty ideal, you know, and honestly, when it comes to desserts, my whole spiel with desserts is that it's fun to, again, obviously try new things out, see how you like them. I think we can really get away with, you know, lower fat, reduced options, cream cheeses, you know, things of that nature without it really changing a lot of the product. But I think there's crustless options that we can do that, you know, if you're trying to, you know, I think about that a lot, that when you think of a pie, a lot of times it's the filling that's so delicious. And so crustless options are a good way to go too, if you're trying to really lighten the calorie load there. But yeah, this particular recipe I thought looked really good. And so I wanted to share it if you are a pumpkin pie fan. But the next slide goes over some other dessert options that, well, one of my favorites, hands down, is that apple crisp. Now, if you were with me last year about this time, pretty sure, yeah, last December was my very first presentation with you guys, and I made that paleo apple crisp, and it is delicious. And I've made it at least 4 times since then. So, well, for a demo once, but then I made it for 2 Thanksgivings, and it's just really easy and delicious. What this particular recipe does, it's kind of swaps out that really heavy flour breading that goes on top of a crisp and supplements it with nuts and almond flour, kind of, again, lowers that glycemic index, adds a bunch of healthy fat to the mix alongside your baked apples. To be quite honest, there's really nothing about it. I think I tell people every time I talk about this, you could technically eat it for breakfast if you wanted to. It's just so easy and good and has so many nutrients involved. But I do recommend adding a little dollop of vanilla ice cream, of course. I'm never going to tell anyone to not do that because that's how I would do it. Another option with crisps and pies, instead of, if you're a big, you know, whipped cream or ice cream or, you know, something like that on top, is, and actually I'm going to go pull it because I have it in the refrigerator. So I'm going to go pull it out of the refrigerator and actually show you guys this. Hold on one second. So if you can see this, okay, this is called Cocoa Whip. It's made with coconut oil. It's dairy free. So I get it. I'm not dairy free. A lot of people have dairy intolerances, not necessarily allergies, but intolerances. So I'm conscious of that a lot of the time, but this just tastes good. And I'm obsessed with coconut. So this is a nice little addition that's kind of a little lower in calorie, but gives you that really good, strong flavor factor that you can kind of put on fruit. You could even, you know, have something like this with a nice fruit tray for a fun dessert option at your party, or you could, of course, just bring it to put on top of pie or crisp or something like that. And then I know peppermint bark can be really fun to make for gifts. I know that that's something that I do. So I don't know if everyone does that, but I like to give gifts, and the peppermint bark and things like that are pretty basic and simple to make. This looked so good. Now I've not actually tried it, but I will be making this. And again, like I said, most things that I've tried, I would say, from Eating Well have just been a home run. And so I'm not saying that it's going to be amazing. I've not actually had this, but it looks really good, looks really pretty, and it looks really easy to make. So, but just, yeah, a swap with using that that Greek yogurt to kind of take down a little bit of those calories a little bit from peppermint bark. Okay, yes. Holiday drink features. This is our last, I think, before we get into the demo. We can't, not have the holidays with without a fun festive drink, and some people might not care a lick about drinks like this over the holidays. And so I have the Palm Sedia, the skinny festive cocktail down. Actually, it's the one that's featured up top in the short glass. That one has a mocktail version, so meaning it doesn't have any alcohol in there. So I liked that they gave two different versions of that if you do not like alcohol, and they're a little lower in sugar. That's why I tried to provide these as options. We can really get into some sugary drinks this time of year, which, they're just not, I don't think it's necessary to have all the sugar to have all the flavor. And so I think that's something that, I wanted to at least feature a couple different fun drinks. And then there's nothing, I think, more festive than some type of Prosecco or champagne cocktail. I think it's just, you feel kind of fancy drinking it. Maybe it's not something you drink all the time. I know that's just a big Christmas Eve thing for my husband's family. And so we usually will kind of, pass around a little bit of champagne and toast. And so this is a really yummy, simple, and also beautiful. I love putting the fresh cranberries into your drink as a garnish with a little bit of rosemary sprig. I just think it's really pretty and super simple. So, all right, guys. So today we are going to be making two dishes. So I've done some pre-work because I wanted to feature two things, but I'll of course talk you through all the steps that I've already done. We are going to be making first a creamy apple and pear salad. So obviously I'm featuring a fruit side and a veggie side because we just don't have enough, fun ideas coming around with those. I feel like over the holidays, I think we need as many fun new fruit and veggie recipes as we can possibly have. So I wanted to throw those in. These both are coming from a really good blog that I also love called Clean Food Crush. She is a blogger, has phenomenal recipes that are very simple. Everything is pretty much made from scratch sauce-wise, but it's really not tough. She uses a lot of similar things, which I think is helpful. So once you kind of get used to her style, if you like her recipes, then you have a lot of those ingredients. You kind of learn to have them on hand. Anyway, so the first thing that we're going to do with this creamy apple and pear salad is we're going to make the dressing for it. Okay, so I'm going to shift some things around here for a second.
Katie, while you're doing that, with those vegetables, can you use veggies in an air fryer?
You mean to roast instead of roasting?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't have an air fryer. My husband said that we don't have room for any more appliances in his house. Right. I don't know if anyone else has husbands like that, but my husband cares too much. But anyway, yeah, you of course can do air fryer vegetables. So yeah, would be a good option. Okay. All right, guys. So what we're gonna do first is let me angle this down so you can kind of see my stuff. We're gonna do a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. And so I am just using, let me grab a spoon. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I have about a 1/4 cup of mayo here. This is just a light kind of olive oil based mayonnaise. So that's all I'm using here, nothing too special. She makes her own. I do not do that. If you want to make your own mayo, that's great. But this is what I am choosing to use. Okay, we're also going to put in a 1/4 cup of just some plain Greek yogurt. So kind of lightens it up a little bit lower fat, a little bit, you know, adding in some good protein, some good probiotics. Of course, Greek yogurt is a wonderful substitute for mayonnaise, sour cream, and things like that, dishes that use that in it. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of honey. Carol, any other questions?
Well, we would love to see the cocoa tub that you had in your refrigerator. The
Yes.
audience couldn't see that when you showed it to us, but the
oh, right.
cocoa whip.
Of course.
Yeah. Just when you get a chance. Well,
I
there
forgot.
it is.
Yes. Okay. Can you guys see it now? Uh-oh, I do not want to do that. Okay, there we go.
Oh, and it's made by So Delicious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it's just in the same section where you would get Cool Whip.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
In the grocery store. It is in the freezer section. All right. So we have our 2 tablespoons of honey there. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of some lemon juice. Okay. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Then we are going to add a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So I'm just going to pour a teaspoon of that in there. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon. You can omit the chili flakes if you don't want any spice involved. This recipe has a lot of stuff in it. I am excited to show it. It's just got a lot of flavor, got a lot of bursts of like lots of different things to it. So the chili just, you know, just adds a little bit of a kick, but it's not good. But yes, you can of course omit that if you do not like any touch of spice. Okay, and then we're going to add just about a teaspoon of lemon zest. So I have a grater here. I'm just going to kind of grate some in. Usually I do about, you know, that's only a little that I've done so far. I'm going to try to do about 1/2 of the lemon. I don't know if you guys are big zesters, but it really adds a punch of flavor. I love zesting lemon and putting it onto salmon dishes. It's very good.
And then is the lemon zest edible?
Wait, oh yeah, it's going to
in the recipe. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that peel is going directly into the dish. Yep. And it's going to be used for the sauce. All right. So now I'm just going to kind of whisk this up. Scrape off as much as I can there. So we've got all of our dressing ingredients, and I'm just going to whisk that up. Nice and creamy. So it is going to be a creamy dressing, creamy salad. A lot of different fruit, healthy fat, lots of stuff going into the salad. Okay, so we've got our dressing right here. pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to just set that over to the side. And then we're going to get our fruit and everything else that's going to go into the salad ready. All right, guys, so I've done a lot of chopping, but I'm going to do some chopping still. I've got two, here, let me angle this a little bit better. Okay, I've got two pink lady apples. Now, she gets specific with her pear apple choices. I think that she's just doing a flavor combo that she enjoys. I do not think that if you get a Honeycrisp apple or, a different type of apple that it's going to make that much of a difference. Okay, so I've got two pink lady apples here. So I'm just kind of dumping everything in this big bowl. All right, I've got one green apple here, and of course she just wants a bunch of different colors going into the mix. That's what's really so fun and pretty about a fruit salad. Okay, so I've got a green apple here to kind of add some red and green, some Christmas colors. All right. Now I've got some pear that I'm going to finish chopping up here. So yeah, Carol, if there's anything else I can answer while chopping.
Is there a specific kind of pear that she recommends?
She recommends a Comus or Steckel pear. Now, I just got Bartlett because that's what they had. So right. You have to kind of be flexible, I think. And this is very perfectly ripe in my opinion. I think it's going to work just fine. And when you're chopping, you just want it to be in kind of, just think bite-sized pieces. There is a fair amount of chopping in this recipe. To some people, chopping is therapeutic. To some, it's literally a nightmare. So I understand if that's not your thing, but that's why we recruit other people in the kitchen to help us. I think that's what makes cooking so much fun.
You sure make it look easy. Good job.
Okay, so we've got our two pears, adding that into the mix.
Maybe on the pears, how many pears did you use?
I used two pears.
Two pears. And how do you judge the ripeness of a pear?
So whenever you're looking at a pear, you want there to be some type of indentation that's able to be made on it. But with a pear, it's going to start to turn brown and not look very pretty on the skin if it's kind of too ripe. The trouble I think with pears is that they're not ripe enough. So I think if you're going to make this recipe, kind of pre-plan for that. Go to the grocery store, get your pears. It usually takes maybe a couple of days and they just kind of slowly ripen. But yeah, you want to be able to kind of make a little bit of an indentation so that they're, not so firm. You just don't want that super firm feel. Okay, so I've got a cup of grapes halved here. So you're just going to take them and cut them in half. That's all. All right. So far in this big old bowl, we have got, all right, a bunch of fruit. We've got 3 apples, 2 pears, and a cup of grapes. Okay, so now we're going to start adding all the other ingredients. We have some celery. So what I've done is I've kind of pre-sliced the celery into little thin strips because it's going to make it a lot easier to cut them, and it's going to make the pieces a lot smaller. And what's so nice is that you can just kind of chop it all at once, and it just makes it go a lot quicker. All right. And I had already kind of pre-chopped some of my celery, but that's such a beautiful green that's going to add, more color to the recipe. try to get some of this chopped up too. All right, so going in the bowl. All right, the next thing that we're going to add is about a half a cup of dried cranberries. Okay, so just dump that in. A third a cup of chopped pecans. We'll dump that in. And then we have got a quarter cup of blue cheese. So not a lot of blue cheese, a bunch of fruit. I think for blue cheese, kind of people that are a little nervous of blue cheese and its real sharp flavor, all of the sweetness and the complexity of this dish is going to make this a little easier to tolerate. And I think it just bolds the flavor so nicely. But if you were just absolutely, no, I don't do blue cheese, then I would recommend trying a goat cheese. I don't know why you couldn't try a feta. I don't know why you couldn't explore with different flavors. I just think the cheese should kind of stand out a little bit like that. And the other thing is when you have such sharp cheeses, you know, goat cheese, feta, things like this, a little goes a long way. And so a lot of times people will ask me, just kind of getting on a side note here about cheese, you know, well, but doesn't that have a lot more fat and doesn't that have a lot more calories to it? And I'm like, well, technically, yes, compared to, you know, a reduced fat or heaven forbid a fat-free cheese, which I would never want anyone to feel they'd ever have to eat. But a little, like I said, goes such a long way, and it hits those flavor receptor, and you know, just in your brain, you just feel so much more satisfied by that flavor than if you're trying to, you know, kind of eat something that's really not hitting it quite right, and you feel like you need to have more of it to reach that satisfaction level. So just a little side note there. Okay, so I'm gonna dump that in, so just a little bit of blue cheese. All right, and then the last thing, of course, is we are going to add our dressing. Okay, so we're just going to dump that dressing in there. Oh, it smells really, really good with that lemon. It smells very, very good. Delicious. Okay, so now I'm going to mix it up. Nice and slow so you don't spill it.
Katie, while you're stirring, what kind of dried cranberries do you recommend? Aren't they a little bit high in sugar?
They
Is the
are.
concern.
They are a little higher in sugar. And so if you want, you can reduce the amount that you use. You could sprinkle just a touch on top. You could have them on the side. That's another option. And have people add as much as they'd like to their portion that they put on their plate. You can get 50%, like a reduced sugar cranberries. So Ocean Spray, I believe, has a brand. That's what I think this was. I had a couple different bags, so I kind of blended two together because I have found two different bags opened. So I worked with both of them. But yes, I think, you know, this particular dish does have you know, so let's talk someone who might have diabetes and someone who looks at this and say, oh, wow, that's a lot of fruit. What you want to do is try to be intentional about the portion that you're using. And, you know, I would say a half a cup is great. Think about the dressing that's going into it. Lots of good kind of, you know, lower fat options, not a lot of sugar going into the dressing, just a little bit of honey. We've got the cranberries that are in there, but you've also got those pecans. You've got some celery. So I would just be intentional about, you know, your portion size of stuff like this. If you're worried about sugar and you're worried specifically about, you know, your blood sugar spiking. But lots of awesome fiber, right? So vegetables, fruit with the skin is going to provide a lot of fiber.
If you are dairy-free, could you substitute dairy-free cream cheese like Tufuti brand instead of the Greek yogurt?
Yeah, I think you could use a dairy-free yogurt too. You don't have to use Greek yogurt. You could use like an almond milk yogurt or something like that if you wanted to.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Let me put it in my bowl just so that you can see it kind of presented very pretty. The other thing that you could do to make it pop a little bit, hold on 1 second. I'll let you kind of look at that for a second. I'll be right back. Is you can take a little bit of your pecans and just kind of sprinkle them over it. I just think that adds a little bit of something extra, something pretty to go along with the different colors and all of the fruit. And it smells really good. I know you guys can't smell it, but it is very, very tasty and it looks very delicious. And you could also take a little extra blue cheese crumbles if you wanted to, and just put a few sprinkles just to, again, make that color pop. I think presentation is one of the most fun parts of kind of bringing a dish along. And so, you know, that's just something that, you know, I think would be fun to do. So, okay. All right. So let's start on our second dish, which I'm excited to make. I'm going to kind of clean up here for a second. All right. Thank you for being patient.
Yes, while you're getting ready, I just want to encourage all of you to use that wellness webinar page as a resource. All your back recipes are there, and if you want the visual to be able to look back at the cooking demo, it's just a great resource. Many used it over Thanksgiving.
Yes, I know. It is nice to have things recorded. All right, guys, a little less ingredients to work with over here. So this is a little bit of a quicker, less chopping, all those things. So, and I know we kind of need things that are easy when it comes to doing some of these dishes, especially if you're not someone who loves to really get in the kitchen and cook. But I hope that, you know, these presentations, I hope that they have inspired some of you to kind of break out of your comfort zone a little bit and find a little bit of the fun in cooking, because I think when we cook, we often think, you know, this is so stressful. We don't want to do this, but I think if we can find ways to make it fun, you know, that can, you know, and start small. Start with stuff that you think, out of some of the recipes that we've done over the past year, that you think would be kind of good to ease into it if you're someone that's not already in the kitchen a lot and enjoys to do that type of stuff. So, okay. So what we're going to do first, I have already roasted my cauliflower because I knew that it would take about 15 to 20 minutes. So when you roast cauliflower, if you've not done this before, you're going to take, I took 1 head of cauliflower and I chopped it up and I put it on a baking sheet with aluminum foil. And then I sprinkled a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, kind of just, you know, mixed that up a bit, popped it in a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. The recipe says 12 to 15. There's no way. I don't understand that. That would be the only thing I would ask and say, how do you get your cauliflower to roast in such a short amount of time? I can never. So, and maybe we just like it at different texture levels, but this to me, okay, is what it looks like. It's about 4 cups or so of roasted cauliflower. And so we're going to use this as the base of our cauli and cheese, of course. And so what I'm going to do for you right now is make a roux or a cheese sauce that's going to go on top. Okay. All right, let me angle Let me get this kind of angled closer to the stove, and I'll kind of bring it over and show it to you as I'm doing it.
Katie, is this something that you can make ahead of time?
Yeah, you can make this ahead of time. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. You know, the cauliflower, it's not like it's roasting to the point where you want it to be crispy roasted. It kind of wants to be soft, like a noodle-ish. You know, it's not a noodle, but soft, like that would be like a macaroni and cheese would be. So I don't think it would hurt it to make it the day before and bring it the next day or something like that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So now that we've roasted our cauliflower, or that's been done, we are going to add your choice of milk. So I have, trying not to spill it here, a cup of unsweetened almond milk. Now you can use whatever milk you want to use. I chose to do something dairy-free. You can use regular skim milk, 1% milk. You know, if that's what you have on hand, you can use coconut milk. You can really use whatever you'd like, but I'm using an unsweetened almond milk. So I'm just going to pour that into my saucepan. The next thing I'm going to do is add, let's see, a tablespoon of gluten-free flour. Now, guys, gluten-free is something that this particular blogger uses a lot because she's very aware of how many intolerances and allergies that exist at this point. And I'm really on board with that. As a person who's demonstrating cooking for other people, I kind of like utilizing these types of options here and there. I certainly don't do it all the time, but that's why she's using gluten-free. It's not to say that gluten-free is healthier than something else. Although when you think about again, that glycemic response that we've talked about before, almond flour, coconut flour, and things like that do have a better blood sugar. You have better blood sugar control when using these types of flours in baking and things of that nature. But let's be honest, we're using a tablespoon. It doesn't matter. Whatever flour you want to use here is okay. All right, so I'm going to add that to the pan. So I'll put it in there. Okay, we're going to heat it over a medium-low heat. Get that fired up. So I've got that on medium-low. We're going to get that heated. We are going to whisk and make sure that so basically I'm just kind of whisking this together. I'm going to get a little bit of a smaller whisk. See if I can kind of plop my computer a little closer over here. So again, I'm just kind of slowly whisking the flour into the milk just so that it's just incorporated, mixed in thoroughly. It only takes, you know, less than a minute there to do that. All right. So now we're going to stir in let's see, a half a cup of cheddar cheese. Okay. You could probably use a different cheese if you would like to, but I'm going with just the classic cheddar when it comes to this particular roux. So we have the cheese, we've got garlic powder and onion powder, 1 teaspoon each. So we've got 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder going into the pot. We're going to start to whisk that together. Again, this is over a medium-low heat. You want to kind of constantly stir it if you can, so that you don't get your cheese sticking to the bottom of the pan, okay? And I do have a little bit of cornstarch on standby, guys, in case this sauce doesn't thicken like I'd like it to. Sometimes that can be, and you know, it just depends. So that's always an option. Carol, any questions while I'm stirring this?
None right now.
Okay.
How long can that apple salad, would you be able to use it as leftovers the next day or with the fruit in it?
The beauty of it is that it has that lemon juice in it.
Okay,
And
yes.
so if that acidity can help it from browning and kind of oxidizing, which is just what happens to fruit when it's exposed to air. So that acidity helps to kind of slow down the process. But, the thing that you're going to get into is just a flavor kind of issue, and the mushiness of the cheese will start to become a thing. And so a lot of times when you think about these dishes, if it's something that you're going to be eating over a couple of days, you can always leave the cheese out. And so you can add it to it as you eat it. And some people might prefer that anyway. This is kind of slowly melting, but I'm just trying to be very patient. A little intensive with this part, but it doesn't last very long. So it's not something that you can kind of leave, and it's thickening up very nicely. Very nicely. So I don't think that we're going to need any type of cornstarch, which is great. You don't need that. So, all right, guys, we're getting there. It's melting. Very good.
We have about 4 minutes left.
Yep, I am almost done. I'm almost done.
I'm using that patience too.
Stick with us, guys. All right. All right, I think this is pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pour this cheese sauce over top of our cauliflower here. Okay. I am going to get my spoon. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so now we're just going to kind of mix this in. Whoops, I lost a little. It is a little runnier than maybe I would like it. So this is my suggestion. Which is always good. It seems to be thickening as I'm continuing to stir.
Right.
Okay, so let me move my camera back a little bit. Not so awkward here. Okay, so what I would recommend is you could add a little bit more cauliflower if you wanted to. I did 1 large head. You could do 1.5 for the amount of liquid. But again, as I'm sitting here and just kind of stirring this up, that cheese is kind of soaking in to those cauliflower florets, and it looks delicious. So the last thing that you want to do is just take a little bit of parsley and sprinkle it over. And the last little touch, which I have to admit, guys, I don't have on hand, but if you wanted to add a little bit of crumbled bacon, turkey bacon, or something like that, if you wanted to, you could put that on top as well. All right, so we've got our little cauli mac and cheese, and then of course our creamy fruit salad. Fun stuff. I hope that you guys try something new for the holidays. Even if it isn't something that I made today, I inspire you to try something really fun and different for a holiday party or for your family gathering that just kind of brings about good discussion and fun flavors.
That they are both just beautiful. Show them again.
Okay.
It looks
they
just
are really
like
pretty.
Your slideshow.
They're really pretty.
Beautiful.
And I have to say that the creaminess of the roux sauce has definitely thickened. But I would suggest maybe 1.5 heads of cauliflower.
Right.
Little bit more cauliflower. Maybe instead of 4 cups, let's say 5. I think that could be really helpful. I think it just kind of depends on the size in which you cut your cauliflower. There's a lot of variables there, but otherwise, I mean, it's perfect. And then this is, of course, the beautiful salad.
Yes, I love the colors for this time of year.
Me too. Very pretty.
Well, Katie, thank you so much. This has just
You're welcome.
been a fun one, like the rest of them are.
Yeah,
And
it's a
to
little
all
different.
of you who were able to join us, just want to let you know that we are going to continue this next year. It will be enhanced, believe it or not. We're just going to get better and better every year. And January, we will be doing 2 sessions, one on January 11th, and that is going to be on another health topic, but radon awareness. And you will be eligible to get a free radon test for your family or for your home. And then we have one on January 25th that is going to be on mindfulness. So both of those are other aspects of health and wellness that we want to include in our program. And then Katie will be back in February with some great programs on heart healthy, which is appropriate for February. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, healthy holiday and that you do as Katie said and try something new. Thank y'all for coming.
All right. See you on the new year.
Okay, bye.
Bye.